So let's start with CANDLE 6 nuclear reactor. It contains hundreds of fuel channels, and this fuel channel strike the core of this reactor, which makes them become a very important part. As the right side picture shows, the outside of fuel channel is cylindrical tube, then inside is pressure tube. There is a lot of spacer in between them to make sure they never contact to each other. And there are 12 fuel bundles filled inside the pressure tube, which contain a radioactive material and using for generate the nuclear energy. So our project is aimed to create a virtual reality assembly environment to teach this CANDLE 6 fuel channel. The pressure tube always, for the pressure tube, it's always under a high stress and high temperature. It could cause the tube geometric changes and result in sac deformation. And this could lead to pressure tube contact with the cylindrical tube and cause the PTCT contact, and could shut down the reactor and lose millions of dollars. Therefore, the company will need a lot of well-trained engineers to work in this dangerous radioactive environment to help inspect and replace the fuel channel. The traditional training for the knowledge of the fuel channel is always by showing student and engineer pictures and some computer assembly. But for VR training, it could help recreate some scenarios and which is rarely happened in real life, and also provide user with a safe environment and an immersive experience. Therefore, compared to VR, traditional training is lack immersion and also don't have enough interaction. And the research shows VR has already been applied in different fields, which is also include the nuclear industry. There are some similar works to our project, such as one of them is using VR to help training and the preparedness of safety culture. And in another related work, VR has also been using for radiation training and the practice to prepare for the accident, leak, and emergency exposure. In most of nuclear-related VR projects, it has provided unlimited access and complex detail about a virtual nuclear system. VR has also content in some serious game and applies the gamification to provide users with engaging environment and motivation experience. For development, first, our project is mainly built for Ontario Tech nuclear engineering undergraduate students. So we need first to understand the operation of the fuel channel and then transfer the course content to VR to build an interactive narrative flow and with a quiz at the end. And the headset we choose to use is Oculus Quest because it's a standalone device and also will be easy to carry and use. So for the UI of this project, it will show on the front walls virtual big screen and contains all the menu stuff and the instructions. And users can access it by use the recasting pointer on the top of their controller as the picture shows. Inside the virtual room, there will be a big screen, which I mentioned in previous slides, and also a bench to perform assembly tasks and a real-life size reactor face model to help users feel more immersive. So for the assembly inside this project, it can process with both VR controller and also the hand tracking. For the process of this project, the user will first examine fuel channel in detail, and after they finish it, they can choose to take assembly test for building the fuel bundle, and then they will take the quiz on the big screen. So the reason for us to choosing do this quiz inside the VR is because we want to avoid breaking the immersive and presence of users' experience. And so during the quiz, as the picture shows, we will let user press the button in front of them to answer the question. Each question will have 30-second time limit to improve user engagement and promote their rapid thinking. In the end, there will be a final score showing up, which is based on users' response speed and the answer's correctness. So due to the COVID-19, we only get 7 participants to help us with our user test. 3 of them did the face validation by watching the live demo in Mozilla Hub, and the rest of them tried project inside the Oculus Quest and provide us with the usability perception. They all finished the system usability score at the end for help us with the feedbacks. Also, the reason for us to test it in 2 different ways is that we want to gather usability opinion from different point of view. Through the user test, there is expert has indicated that some piece of the view bundle are missing, which could influence the fidelity of assembly. And another undergraduate student advised that we need to show our prototype to more students for more accurate results. And most of our participants thinking our project is easy to use, but they still have some concerns that user will need more practice for using the VR controller. And for the gamification part, we need to consider more form of input to award user a better score. Also, we can include some speech to text to perform more natural user interaction. In conclusion, VR can bring the nuclear system more closely to students, and the users' feedback also indicates people get interested in VR learning platform. And it's also point out that we still need to improve our fidelity, content, user interaction, and gamification in the future. And for our current VR project, it's allowed us to gather preliminary information to both visual validation and usability, which is very important to us. So in the future, we will keep improving our project, test with more students and experts, and we will also thinking about applying no invasive physiological equipment to measure the relationship between the user stress and emergency condition in the project. Later, when we have large pool of participants, we will start studying the effects on rotation in and outside of the VR. Thank you. That's all of my presentation. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Lilian. Yes, is there a question? I have a question, and how did you create the reactor model in VR? Did you use 3D data, or did you scan the model or the real reactor?
We use the 3D CAD to model the to model like the fuel channel model, which is like provided by like the nuclear expert.
Okay, so it so then the reactor was not based on real life physics, or was it based on?
Oh, it's based on real life score. Yeah, so make user like more immersive, like.
Okay, and it was the scenario was for one person or for more than one person? Was it collaborative?
Right now it's only for one person. Yeah.
Okay, there's another question. Who were the participants in the study?
The participants, some are like game development experts, some are like engineering experts like professor, and there are also some like undergraduate student from nuclear engineering.
Okay, thank you. And what is about the gamification part you intend to implement? Can you elaborate on it?
So we try to implement like a narrative for student to look over like all to make sure like student look into all the part of the Can-Do 6 view channel and understand what is their functions.
Okay, okay. And so you get some praise.
Praise.
Yeah, a nice project. Who are the users of this VR system? Professionals or the intended users? Are you trying to bring it into university teaching, or is it the kind of training for professionals who need to operate the reactor in reality?
Yeah, right now we are just try to bring this to university's course lecture. Yeah.
Um, would you agree with the statement that it seems that the details of the model are more important than the immersion? So normally VR is known for its immersion, but here it seems that details like in simulations are more important.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get the question.
Or how important is immersion or the immersive character of this?
Yeah,
We
immersion is also really important. Like inside the simulation, we also have a lot of like feedbacks, like when player hold or touch things, like the controller will vibrate, and also like when they do something wrong, there will be some like red lights to give player more feedback and make them like more immersive, and also like all the models in like real life score, so it's like to help like student learn it's like better and more accurate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there are some more questions in the chat you should have a look at. And yes, thank you for your presentation. And now let us welcome Sorel Kamkuimo from University of Quebec in Canada. And her presentation is about dynamic difficulty adjustments through real-time physiological feedbacks for a more adapted virtual reality exposure therapy.
I would just like to thank the presenters this morning from this this session. All of them, unfortunately, are from the other side of the world, so it's very, very early for them.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I cannot load my presentation.
Okay.
How can I do this?
Where are
I don't
you?
have the window.
Audrey, you need to come up on the stage, please.
Ah, okay.
Oh no, your baby's awake.
Yes.
Oh dear. Do you want to switch? Do you want to do Sofiane first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Maybe that's possible. Is that okay, Heinrich?
Yes, of course.
It's 4 in the morning for Sorel and she's all alone with her baby.
Okay, Sofiane Touel is from Plaisir Mass Labs in France, and he presents a paper about analysis of mixed reality tools for learning math in primary and secondary school.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sofyan.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Hi.
That looks good. We can see you. Your slides are a bit slow to refresh, but it should be fine.
I think
I have to remind you, if you are experiencing, if you're having a hard time to view the slides, you can update, you can do refresh on your computer. And if really it doesn't work, all the slides are available on the detailed program. Heinrich, you can go ahead and introduce Sofyan.
Yes, Sufyan is from Plaisir Math Labs in France, and his paper is about an analysis of mixed reality tools for learning math in primary and secondary schools. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sofiane Toual. I am a doctoral student affiliated with Plaisir Math and Le Mans University in France. I present to you an article that we wrote in collaboration with Ida Mafizi-Schotman and Sebastian George, which is analysis of mixed reality tools for learning math in primary and secondary school. Much research aims to improve education, especially for children. Many technologies were proposed to improve learning in schools, and one of the most promising is mixed reality. So we decided to explore the use of mixed reality in schools because of these many benefits, such as physical object manipulation, embedded cognition, mental load of children, multimodal visual-haptic activities, motivation, and autonomy. At school, all subjects are important, but math represents the knowledge from which most other sciences derive. Ah, it's not me change the slide.
That happens sometimes.
Okay.
So you can just do refresh
Okay.
if you don't see correctly. It should work now.
No,
Go ahead,
okay.
you can continue.
Studies show that being successful in math usually imply future success in other areas, such as reading. In addition, the skills of children aged 4 to 5 will predict their scientific skills in adolescence. Many elementary schools consider mathematics, science masculine, elitist, and consider mathematics a difficult subject. I made a state of the art to answer 4 main questions. The first, what math subjects are compatible with mixed reality? The second question we would like to answer is what equipment is necessary to carry out mixed reality activity. We also want to identify the different software used to develop these mixed reality applications and the skills required to use them. Finally, we will end with the question of what type of interactions does mixed reality offer, what are their benefits for learning. For our state of the art, we search for articles from the following publisher: Springer, IEEE, HAL Archive, and others. Our search used the combination of keywords. We have 2 types of syntax. They are segmented in blocks, and each block contains several possible keywords. The first syntax consists of 2 mandatory blocks. It is teaching or learning and object manipulation or physical movement. Then one of these 3 blocks would be optional, digital or augmented reality or mixed reality preschool or primary. The second syntax also consists of two mandatory blocks, teaching or learning and augmented reality or mixed reality, and temporary block with several choices, math or fraction or geometry. This research allowed us to select about 30 scientific studies. In this article, we will only present 8 of the 30 studies that were chosen according to the following criteria. Given the rapid technological evolution of mixed reality, we only want to keep the recent study published after 2015. We wanted articles that presented working prototype from different countries like Asian, European, American, and that cover a variety of mathematical fields, interaction, and require various equipment, and this in order to give a good overview of existing applications. Here are the 8 selected applications. The first is the Magic Boost app. The Magic Boost application comes from Indonesia. Its goal is to improve the spatial perception of geometric shapes for children aged 7 to 12. Math anxiety is a Taiwanese study to reduce anxiety related to learning math. 8 quizzes are started around the classroom to review topics such as fraction and geometry, in addition to displaying 3D objects in augmented reality. Virtual object versus physical object is a Turkish study that compared the use of augmented reality objects and physical objects for learning geometry. The objective is to teach 5 to 6-year-old children how to recognize geometric shapes. Fraction Marathon uses number line to teach fraction, addition, and subtraction to 11-year-old Greek children. The Ready to Learn initiative is used to investigate the potential of augmented reality for learning certain mathematical topics, geometry, fraction, counting, etc. In the United States. Among other applications, they offer an augmented reality app to introduce fraction to children aged 7 to 9. The Village is a Greek project designed to teach fraction to elementary school children aged 7 to 12-year-old. The next is Uruguayan robot game is used to teach addition to children aged 5 to 6. The last application is Smart, a Turkish study used to help children aged 3 to 5 understand no symbolic numbers and compare them. Now, to answer the first question, we can say that mixed reality is compatible with various mathematical subjects. Mixed reality can be used for teaching the basics of math. The studies show that mixed reality makes them feel less anxious and make them want to study math. Mixed reality is also used to teach fractions, one of the most difficult and complex subjects for children. The use of mixed reality and a game mechanic helps motivate the children. Mixed reality also has a number of advantages for teaching geometry because it allows to visualize and manipulate 3D objects. All the article we analyze show that mixed reality can offer rich interaction such as contextual feedback and help that have a positive impact on learning and motivation. Among the 8 applications we analyze, 3 offer very light or no existing interaction or feedback. These are very easy to set up. They don't require a lot of technical knowledge for their deployment, but their educational benefits are very limited. The second type of application are rich in interaction and feedback and have clear educational benefits in terms of motivation, learning and student autonomy too, but they are complex to set up. Our analysis allow us to identify 3 different types of equipment used for mixed reality application. Applications such as Magic Boost require smartphone or tablet, which are appreciated especially in schools because of their low prices and accessibility, but their use can be restrictive because students have to hold the tablet. This could be resolved by using a support system. The second is projector. They are very useful, especially for collaborative activities, but they are complicated to set up and can be very bulky. The last concern mixed reality glasses. We can say that in our state of the art, there was nothing like it because it is too expensive for school, and in addition, they can cause discomfort. One solution may be to look into the curtain project that always you to create your own AR glasses with a smartphone. The different applications that we presented were developed with three types of technology. Publisher technologies like OASMA, their advantages are that they don't require an expertise and we can quickly develop with application, but they can only create AR application with light or no existing interaction. Unlike editor technology, open source technologies are very customizable but require a lot of technical skills, especially in image processing, such as OpenCV. Finally, the last type of technologies are often paying but offering a free version with certain restrictions. They don't require a lot of programming skills. They give a good rendering and allow to customize the application like the famous Vuforia. The contribution of mixed reality for teaching math is considerable since it allows to have a lower mental load and increase motivation even for the most difficult subjects such as fraction. Our analysis of 8 applications of mixed reality show us that this technology offers several educational advantages, especially when using feedback and rich interaction. And currently, the only technologies capable of creating social, rich mixed reality interaction are paid technology like Vuforia that require strong programming skills, or open source technologies that require even more programming and image processing expertise. There is therefore a need for tools that can allow teachers to create their own rich mixed reality application. In addition, it's important to develop mixed reality application for learning that work with tablets, since most schools are generally equipped with them and they are easy to set up. However, their use deprives children of using their hand at the same time. This constraint must therefore be taken into account when designing activities to allow students to manipulate physical objects and interact with the application. The app should also work with markers that the teacher can easily print on paper or card or on stickers and fit them on
Sofian,
materials.
1 minute left.
Okay, I finish with the conclusion. I am in my first year of my thesis, and that I have just finished my state of the art. My objective is to design a mixed reality extension of a board game for teaching fraction developed by Plaisir Math Association with the help of math teacher. I am now developing a prototype that offers rich interaction and that is simple to set up with the existing game material. We are also trying to set up a tablet support system for children to interact and play freely. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Have you any question?
So, probably we need to defer the questions to the chat because it's
okay.
The time is up, but for sure I will have some questions.
Mixed reality can be compatible with teaching geometry.
Okay, thank you, Sofian.
Thank you, Sofian. Or maybe while Sorel is setting up, he can maybe answer one question because he did start a bit late.
Okay, I can. I can read the question.
Okay,
so
super.
And Sorel, can you come up, please?
Okay, for the first question, it is true that compatible of mixed reality with geometry is more obvious
you
because
can set up your slides, Sorel.
Aspect, but the subject of fraction is also compatible. It may require racial activities and advanced fitting. as well as some feedback so that it's really beneficial to the student. It is therefore necessary to work immediately on the educational content. For the second question, I will talk with you after.
Thank you very much, Sufyan.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. So now let us welcome Sorel Kamkuinu. She's from the University of Quebec in Canada, and her talk is about dynamic difficulty adjustment through real-time physiological feedbacks for a more adapted virtual reality exposure therapy.
So Sorel, we put up your slides. Can you go through them? Can you interact with them? Sorel, we can't hear you. You need to turn on your mic.
Okay.
Yes. Does it work? Can you interact with the slides?
Yes. But how can I switch from the previous slide? Okay, I see.
It's on the bottom.
Okay. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to today's conference. My name is Sorel Kamkuinu, and I am a PhD student at the University of Quebec in Chicoutimi. I will be defending my PhD by January. So the adaptive virtual reality truck simulator that I am going to present to you here is intended for truckers suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder after a road accident. This simulator has been developed in collaboration with La Fute, which is a therapy center in Saguenay in Quebec. So I cannot start without thanking its director who contributed to this work, and I would also like to thank my supervisor. I will start my presentation by stating some generality about serious games and dynamic difficulty adjustment. Then I will present some works related to our subject. After this, I will describe our truck driving simulator and the DDA module that we have included. Finally, I will introduce some experiments that we will conduct to validate this adaptive approach of treatment. We all know that one of the main advantages of serious game is that they offer a suitable environment for learning. Serious game is a medium of active learning based on problem solving with multiple interactions. In this view, serious games players have in-game objective whose achievement involves solving one or more challenges in some specific context. Hence, it appears that the more adapted the situation is to the player's profile, the more efficient he may be in the game. This approach can be found in dynamic difficulty adjustment. To maintain an appropriate balance between the skills of the players and the difficulty level of the gameplay, some serious games offer static difficulty levels that the player can select before entering the gameplay. However, this may not be meaningful enough for the player because he may not know exactly what level of challenge to expect when selecting a difficulty level. To address that issue, many studies have looked at the possibility of adapting the challenges of the game according to the personal characteristics of each player, such as in-game performances or emotional analysis. This last approach is particularly interesting when it comes to serious games with therapeutic vocation because the profiles of end users are very varied on the cognitive and psychoaffective levels alike. So our contribution is to use DDA in a virtual reality serious games that use prolonged exposure therapy to treat people suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now I'm going to present some works that we analyze in order to justify the rationale for a DDA system using physiological measures. The first one is a study by Liu. It's a study by Liu et al. They proposed a DDA algorithm that used physiological measures to adjust the game. They had 3 difficulty levels and 3 anxiety levels. During the gameplay, they inversely matched the difficulty level and anxiety level of the player. So the difficulty level of the game was easy when the player was anxious and vice versa. The authors integrated this algorithm in the Punk game in order to compare this affect-based DDS system with a performance-based DDS system. They observed that high precision in real time of the high precision in real time of the affect-based DDS system. Another study is that of Van Roche et al. They propose a VR biofeedback breeding game named Dipped. It is a self-adaptive relaxation series game that immerses players in a fantastic underwater world that they can explore while moving freely. In their game, the respiratory rates of players are measured to adapt several aspects of the game accordingly. One aspect of adaptation is at the level of the monitoring of the players breathing using a circle whose diameters vary according to their breathing. In addition, the movement of the player in the game is easier or more difficult depending on whether their breathing rate is low or fast. Following a 7-minute experience of immersion by 86 children, the authors point out a significant decrease in the general anxiety state of the subject. Last year at the GaLA Conf, Ninos et al., who I think is present here, presented a digital game-based emergency personal training. They evaluated the feasibility of a heart rate-based DDS system in which players had to learn to manage 3 critical emergency scenarios of 3 difficulty levels each. They assessed participants' preference for the non-adaptive and adaptive version of the game. In the non-adaptive version, participants had to play the game scenario normally in the time allotted. In the adaptive version, the game scenarios were adjusted so that the game become more difficult or easier if the player's heart rate drop below or above a certain predefined threshold, respectively. The study revealed that gamers found the adaptive version of the game to be more exciting, fascinating, challenging, and engaging. As in these studies reviewed, it is possible to consider parameters other than the user's performance in the game. When it comes to PTSD, heart rate has been shown to be an objective indicator of the patient's stress level in the presence of trauma cues. Particularly, the values of the patient heart rate retrieved at regular time intervals during treatment can be used to assess the evolution of their emotional state. In this case, a positive outcome of the treatment may be in the attenuation of the subject's heart rate when facing anxiety-provoking stimuli. That is why we have been interested in the emotional state of the patient measured by means of the heart rate to offer an adaptive virtual reality exposure therapy system for treating PTSD in people who had an accident. So now I'm going to present you this system. In a previous work, we proposed a new approach named Action-Centered Exposure Therapy in the use of virtual reality for the treatment of PTSD. In that approach, the gamification relies on 3 main phases. The first is dedicated to the trivialization of the stimuli associated to the trauma, the goal being to denature the environment to allow the patient to appropriate it. The second stage brings the patient into a realistic universe, and in the last stage, there is an indirect exposure of, to the main anxiety-provoking stimuli. The overall goal is to define a framework that will be able to detect which situation appear to be appropriate to the player's mental state. So the work presented here is a continuation of that previous one. Our dynamic adjustments are made on environment and scenario because the environment allows for the definition of a global context for the development of the gameplay, and the scenario define the flow of events in the environment. We use 3 main devices for action and interaction with the virtual environment. We use the Oculus Rift headset for visual exploration, the Logitech steering wheel for driving the truck, and the Exoskin for retrieving user heart rate in real time. We can note that Exoskin is a garment fitted to the body that measures different physiological data more precisely than current commercial heart rate monitors. For mechanics, we have visual exploration, moving selection, and driving mechanics. This simulator consists of two main virtual open driving environment that we name city and countryside and road by the lake. Several scenarios can arise from this environment by changing the weather, the time of the day, the content, or for example, by adding some accidents. For the dynamic difficulty adjustment module, we have developed a plugin that is responsible for linking the simulator and the exhaust skin to collect the user's heart rate in real time. The simulator can be adapted in 3 ways: the offline adaptation, the manual online adaptation, and the computational online adaptation. For both offline and manual online adaptations, the system offers the therapist an easy-to-use menu from which they can select environment and scenario which eventually some accidents according to the patient's characteristics, such as his background, his evolution in the previous session, or observations that the therapist makes of the patient's state while the latter is being exposed. For the computational online mode, the system uses the DDA algorithm that automatically change the environment and scenario according to emotional state of the patient, as evaluated by his heart rate in real time. To implement this algorithm, we began by defining the different possible scenarios to integrate in the simulator and classifying them by anxiety level. We then obtained 3 main anxiety level, as you can see here. And the system is made to allow the addition of new anxiety-provoking stimuli in the city and countryside environments, such as accidents. The presence of 1 or more accidents in the scenario will increase the anxiety level of the current scenario by 1, regardless of the number of accidents selected by the therapist on the map. Indeed, having several accident positions make it possible to increase the chances that the patient will encounter at least 1 of them on their way. The DDA algorithm operates in 2 main stages. The first consists in evaluating...
2 minutes left.
Okay. So the first stage is to evaluate the emotional state of the patient, and the second is to adapt the environment accordingly. So to conclude our presentation, we can say that the use of virtual reality exposure therapy for PTSD treatment is an array of vigorous ongoing research, and the aim is to find approaches that will facilitate the exploitation of VR and produce even more appreciable results. Engaging the patient in treatment could be a promising approach. So the DDA algorithm that we have proposed here in this work can be an interacting way to do this, and also evaluate treatment before, during, after, between, and within therapy session. It can then constitute a way of standardization of virtual reality exposure therapy. As you can see in the picture, we are now conducting experiments with safe people in order to evaluate the quality of the tool and interactions before proceeding to the treatment with truckers suffering from PTSD after a road accident. So thank you for your attention, and do not hesitate if you have any question or suggestion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sorel. There's one question. How do you analyze the heartbeat tracker with the in-game activity? I think, how do you find the baseline, or how do you monitor when there is a difference?
Okay, thank you for this question. To initialize the heart rate, we collect the heart rate of the patient at the beginning of each session when he is at rest. And we use a certain parameter to allow flexibility in the normal heart rate of the patient. So we use this heart rate collected and adding a variable between 0 and 40.
Okay, thank you very much. This was a very interesting talk, and yes, this talk concludes the session. And thank you for being awake at this non-normal time for you.
Yes.
Greetings.
I'm looking. My baby is just sleeping right here on my legs.
Okay.
Well, that's definitely a first. Thank you very much, Sorel, and thank you, Heinrich.
Yes, thank you. Now, Manuel Gentile and Gamification is waiting for you.
Hi.
Sorel,
Thank you, Heinrich.
Sorel, you can take your webcam off. Just click,
Okay.
re-click on the same icon, the webcam.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll let the next speaker set up.
Okay.
I think it would be best if you put your presentation in the middle, Walter. Just click on the middle screen and do the same thing. That looks good. And if you want to put up your webcam, you can on the left side.
Okay. Dear all, welcome to the 6th session of the GaLA conference. It is always a pleasure to be here with this research community, sharing ideas and outlining the future of this research file. I want to thank Isa and all the team again for this great organization. A big applause, F4 for Isa and all the team.
Thank you very much.
And in this session, we will have 5 talks about gamification application. The first one is from Professor Walter Dettling and Dr. Bettina Schneider of the Institute for Information System of the University of Applied Science and Arts of the Northwestern Switzerland. And he will present Blocks Game, a simulation game for teaching blockchain. Please, Professor, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much.
Maybe Sorel, you could get down off the stage if you're still here.
Oh.
You can move down, please. Thank you.
So my presentation is coming, I hope. Can you see my webcam?
Yes, we can see it in the middle. Yes, perfect.
And my webcam, is it working or not?
No, the webcam is not working. You can try to click again on the on the screen and click on the webcam icon.
Yes, that's what I did. Let's try again.
Yeah, we can try again, and if it doesn't work, it's okay.
It's working.
Ah, perfect. Yes, much nicer. Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, so now I next have to go, to my presentation. Thank you. Just, it takes a second to get used to this. And I even would like to see the audience. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Walter Dettling, as you have heard. I'm a professor for business math. After my PhD 30 years ago, a little bit more, I started first working in industry, and then I got a teacher for business math. Today I have changed my roles, so I'm a full professor, but still working in industry. I'm going to talk about maybe a topic which is a bit exotic for this conference. It's about blockchain, but I'm very happy to do that with you, and I hope I can give you some insights also in the topic as well. The idea of Blocks Game is that we want students to get in touch with the fundamentals of what we call public blockchain. And I think this is quite a complex thing to understand. I have some experience also, let's say 5-6 years, I've started teaching blockchain, and I realized that it's very hard to get really the essence of blockchain understand. And so with Blocks Game, we try to change this. Here we are. Now you could ask, why should anybody know really the thing about blockchain? Do we know the insights of technology? And I think, yes, we do. And you do as well, because the blockchain technology will really change the way we live today. Just remember yourself, 30 years ago, and nobody talked about the internet. E-commerce was even not known. And today it has really changed a lot. We would not be here without the internet. And I'm convinced, strongly convinced, that in 10 to 20 years, everything will have changed again. And the reason why is blockchain. So let me give you a short idea of what it is about when we teach blockchain. The first implementation of blockchain had the idea of storing and transmitting value through the internet, which is not a trivial thing. And the first instance who solved this issue was Bitcoin. It was 2008-9 during the last financial crisis, and it was launched then. And you see, still today, it's there. We have no time to discuss it, but it has today a value of more than 350 billion US dollars and a daily volume of more than 35 billion and thousands of computers. And I think millions of people use it in a daily way. So that's the relevance of it, but blockchain does not stop with Bitcoin. A lot of projects have started afterwards and many applications have been launched and they all want to change the same. They want to develop another way of storing and transmitting value and information. And what is quite critical about the thing is, once you achieve this, you don't need any more so-called trusted third parties like banks or governments. Okay, but how should this work? So let me give you an idea how we can do this with Blockscan. Learn the blockchain block. This is our website. You can go there and have a look more in detail. Basically, Blockscan is designed as a teaching tool for higher education, not for students. Too abstract for children. For students, not for children. In the first place, it's an instrument for teachers, so it's not a game you can play on your own. You always need a group and you need someone who guides you. And maybe one interesting thing regarding our conference today and what Blockscan is, we are talking about virtual reality here. And I would say Blockscan is not virtual reality, but it's virtual complexity and abstraction. It's maybe kind of opposite or not, but it's not a virtual reality because the reality of blockchain is not visible. And before students can use Blockscan, they need some basics. I don't go into this detail, but without these three main concepts in cryptography, you have trouble to understand Blockscan. Trick is that each student then starts becoming blockchain. That's what we call a node. He has an identity distinct from each other by his keys and his address. And afterwards, the students start interacting with each other. So they start building together a blockchain once they know also some basic operations like creation of transaction using a wallet, what is also helpful for them when they might use Bitcoin or Ethereum for their private use. The interesting thing is really building a blockchain. This is a picture from a class I had a couple of weeks ago after 1 hour of really working and playing around. The interesting thing is that by using Blockscan, students experience what we call the shared consensus, which means how can we build something with value without having someone controlling us. The students control themselves, each other. They don't trust each other, but they need each other. That's the main thing which can be experienced with Blockscan. And I think this is quite interesting because with Blockscan we add a topic which we cannot teach in abstract way or by explaining. You just have to do it to understand it. Okay, so I hope I could make you curious about our conference paper. That's what you can find there, of course. how we developed it. And there is also literature review and also some possible teaching scenarios. Blockscan is a software which is going to be open source. So yesterday I heard one presentation about Docker and Kubernetes, and we are in the same surroundings, so we could collaborate easily with each other. I'm very happy that we could convince IBM that our idea is worth being shared around the world. And basically, once we have finished our work, and this will be in a couple of weeks, each teacher can test it for free. We will have a subscription because we need to cover still some costs, but it's not about the commercial interest, it's about creating value for the future. So we would be very happy if we can find other teachers here, wherever, who are interested in using this tool. So you can sign up at teaching@blockscan.io, or you go to the website blockscan.io, or even better, you come to our booth in the exhibition hall this afternoon, and I hope we can then have their demonstration of the tool. Thank you very much, and maybe there are some questions now.
Yeah, I will check the chat. There are some questions for Professor Detling. I have one, if I can. What are the insights you derived from the first trials with students in terms of skill acquired?
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting. I think we are starting now to evaluate the tool and what is the outcome, but the response of all students, even when they already had quite good technical knowledge about blockchain, was that they really got the better understanding of the mechanism and what the blockchain really is. So it was, you could say, a aha. Okay, interesting. So it's beyond just to describe what it is, but it's like an experience. That's the most important part.
Okay, thanks for the response. I'm checking the chat. I think there are no questions for Professor Detling. I want to thank again Professor Detling.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And now is the turn of Andrew Durbay from the Roanoke College, United States.
Walter?
Andrew?
Yes?
Maybe could you just remind us the number of your booth?
It's 40, let me go back. It's 4B44, 34. Let me.
D34?
B.
B like baby.
B like baby, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. I think this is now wrong. Doesn't matter. It's B34, yes.
Okay, just could you turn off your webcam? Just click on the screen again and click on the webcam. Perfect, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank
you. Andrew, you can put up your webcam if you'd like.
Absolutely. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I want to thank you, Andrew, for the participation. For our community, it's essential to be able to overcome the European borders, and I want to thank for his participation. He will present Pointer Abstract, lesson learned in computer concept gamification. Andrew?
Hey, thank you very much. Just a second, so I can use a pointer for this. All right, hello everyone. Like he said, my name is Andrew Roubaix. I'm from Roanoke College, which is a university in Virginia in the United States. I would like to thank my advisor and co-author, Dr. Bouchard, for making this possible, as well as all the organizers at the conference for giving me the opportunity to present this here. So what we're going to talk about today is Pointer Attack, which is a game we designed in order to address this difficulty we saw with learning pointers, we're going to talk about our thoughts going into creating the game itself, and the results within that. So pointers are a concept which can be very difficult for students to learn initially. For those of you who aren't as familiar with them, pointers are a way of indirectly storing computer memory. They're very powerful. They have a lot of applications, but the problem is because of that indirectness, they can tend to be very abstract, and it would be very difficult for students to understand. And that's one of the reasons why they have been considered a threshold concept by some, which is a principle that can really elevate a student's understanding of the discipline, so computer science in this case, but be very hard to learn initially. So because of these difficulties, we really wanted to start to address this problem in our students and learning it. So in the past, people have used practice problems and visualization to address pointers, and those have been effective. But something we were concerned about as we started to design the game and think about this game is that practice problems, when you start practicing, can really just very possible for that to turn into fill-in-the-blank memorization, really the ability to code without understanding it. On the other hand, you have visualization, which can help you understand something, but even if you understand it, you don't exactly know how to code and implement it. And so we thought these two things really needed to be worked together, and so that's why we turned to gamification. And I could spend a lot of time talking to everybody here about gamification, but I think some of the wonderful presentations at this conference have already done so. So as we designed our game, we had several goals we wanted to work with. We wanted to work on students' planning and problem-solving ability, and so we incorporated puzzles. We wanted to try to address motivation and engagement, like it's been talked about before, and so we implemented a system of stars and tried to do a story-motivated narrative approach. And then, like I just said, the coding ability, and we used code gameplay for, which basically, in order to progress in the game, a student would actually have to type in computer code. And then we also wanted them to understand the code, and so we did want to incorporate a visualization on that. So to accomplish everything, this is what we came up with. Yes, so these are our cats. They are not our friends. This is Hans, this is Ray, and they have been trampling all these crops. And so what we want to do is we want to create little pointer catapults to stop them. And so we know where they're going to go. We know Hans is going to move east, so he'll be coming right here. We know Ray will move west, so Ray will be coming right there. And we want the student to type in and create pointers to these locations. Now, this has been explained to the student that these locations are variables, and so they have a true or false value whether or not a cat is there. So this little square here will be true, this one will be false. And then in order to see this, this is the grid square, and this is just an image right now, but if this was the game, it would actually be changing the city based on what I was pointing at. And so this one would be Braden, and this one would be Mordor. And then basically the student would type in their code, they would hit compile, and then that would create the catapults like so. So let me slide, you see, yeah. So they created a pointer to this square, and that created our catapult to get to Hans. We created a catapult to right here, and when they hit compile, they created both of these, and that's how this would be a successful game in that case. So let's talk about level design for a second. We wanted to really capture different applications of pointers when it came to level design. And so one important part of that is to be able to dereference, which is to basically get the value of a pointer that it's pointing to. And so like we said before, that's going to be true or false. And so we created this level design story motivate this. We basically told them in this paragraph that we want to only attack one of them if we're sure we've hit the other. That's kind of the idea as they move in. We want them to use dereferencing for that. So this would be the correct code. So you create a pointer to this location, and if the value of that, there's that dereferencing, which we were trying to emphasize, the value of that is going to determine whether we write another pointer right here. So after a successful level, next we create this. This would be another level well done. So forward. So as we go into the experiment, we had 2 student groups divided into 2 different treatments, and so that would be 4 groups total. We had a group of first-year students who had just learned about pointers. They had maybe an hour or 2 of experience. And then we had some second-year students who had over a year of experience working within the language. So our control groups were required to write 2 basic C++ functions involving pointers. They could optionally write a third one. This is a similar way to how we do curriculum normally. Roanoke College is this way of practicing writing functions. And then our experimental groups were given to play the tutorial, level 0, and the first 3 levels of pointer attack, and they could optionally play a 4th level. So going to the experimental design, we take these same academic goals we had earlier, and we wanted to measure them. We didn't really work on planning problem solving because we didn't want to overwhelm the student, but we did want to really measure motivation because this is gamification, this was an experiment. We used the intrinsic motivation inventory, which some wonderful talks yesterday mentioned, as well as we wanted to see if they performed that optional last activity. To get coding ability, we had a before and after pointer quiz, multiple choice and short answer, as well as for the code understanding, we had very broad questions like what is a pointer and what does it do? And we asked that before and after. Before we go into data, I would like to note the optional activity and these broad questions didn't really pan out to useful data, so they aren't on the slide, but they are something we measured. So when it comes to data, the quizzes were scored 0 to 5, I should note, and then there was no significant difference between first year and second year students. And so I know this says control first year, that's a typo. This is just the entire control group, and then we have our entire experimental group. So because of responses, as we actually collected our data the day before our school closed for COVID, we were very lucky there, but we did have some difficulty getting the after the exercise responses back from students, and so that's why the sample sizes are different, but we have 18 and 14. We did see an improvement in quiz score for both groups, 0.11 and 0.75. Then we did see a slightly different IMI score, which was a 56 and a 57. However, this could have very well been random. As you can see from our p-values, which I did not mean to click that part. There we go. You can see from our p-values, this could have been random. This wasn't a very significant test. And that's part of the difficulty. We did have a small sample size. We are a small school. And so that was something we were concerned about. But this being a small school had its advantages in that we could be in with the students and observe them while they were interacting with the game. And so that leads us to some experiential results, which I gave you a quick teaser for just a second ago. So struggles. The game wasn't engaging. As much as we wished it was, we could see students were getting very frustrated. And there were a few reasons for that. We didn't really implement the star system as a way of reward, but it almost ended up being a punishment. Because we wanted students, like I said earlier, to try to get certain concepts. But if they didn't use a specific concept of pointers, such as dereferencing, then they couldn't move on, and that's how stars were tied. Stars were tied to doing the correct thing, not to doing an additional reward thing. In addition, the linear design tended to frustrate students because they had to have very exact, they had to do very exact coding, which if they had a solution, even if it worked, it wasn't the one we wanted to do. And then we also tried to integrate the story, but that paragraph I showed you earlier was just too much of a paragraph. Students would skip it and then forget about it, and that would influence their ability to perform well in the exercise. We did have some successes. Students were very excited for the game in particular, and this is just as a concept. While the game was in development, students were aware about it, and they were very excited to play with it. And even students in the control group, actually, even after seeing their peers' frustrations, still wanted to play the game afterwards. And then we did see some interesting stuff with story mechanics, but in the interest of time, we will move on from that. Most important thing is what I've been calling this hidden success. And that's, in the midst of this frustration, we have one example where a student actually gave up. They decided to stop playing my game, and they decided to try to break my game. They thought it would be a good way to, I don't know, have some fun to break our game. And so we see they did really well. They tried to clip over. They would have kept going and crashed the game. I obviously couldn't crash it to take the screenshot. This is a recreation. But you see in the process here, they created a lot of pointers. They really practiced. And that, I think, points to the most interesting thing. Once they gave up on this linear design, they just had a framework, and they could just play around in an interesting way and code in an interesting fashion that worked for them. And so moving into the future, obviously playtest, playtest, playtest. We want to be engaging. Like I said earlier, we have story mechanics. You can read the full paper on that. But this idea of being open-ended, how can we make a framework for coding to be more interesting and tie in visualization for students? Because I think that really hits to the spirit of computer science. We have these open-ended problems that students can try different ways to solve, and if their solution works for them, and it's within, what is acceptable, then awesome, they should go for that. And so as we think about serious games in the future, how can we just make an interesting environment for students to work with? Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. That's all I have. I'll happily take any questions anyone has.
Thank you, Andrew. There is one question from Nadia Zarik. Would you consider giving the AMMI before and after the experiment?
So the way our IMI works is, or the way we adapted it, is that it really measures how engaged they were in the experience. So we took from self-determination theory right here different questions, and it actually asked them to reflect on the experience. And so the way this one was designed, it wouldn't really have worked for before and after.
Okay. Again, Nadia, ask you, do you plan including pre-knowledge as a variable?
That was a bit of what we considered with doing the two different classes, the students who had just an hour of experience and a group that had a whole year of experience. We thought that that might affect, it didn't affect in our data, but we also had small sample sizes. And so if we were to scale this up, it's possible that that's something that we could measure a bit better then.
Okay, I have, if I can, a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you check the potential impact of visualability skills on student performance in the game? It's something that really interested me, and I want to know if you...
Sorry, what kind of skills? I didn't get that.
Visual abilities skills,
spatial
abilities.
Right, that is actually something we didn't consider, but that might be something interesting to look at in any future iterations that might exist.
I can point you our research we made since maybe.
Yeah,
will, okay. Again, a question from Pramata Atmaya. Do you have a plan in mind about how to measure the student success in the game if the game was open-ended?
Yeah, we don't have a plan right now. Like, this is very recent. Like I said, we finished right before the first round of COVID lockdowns and processing the data. The struggle with open-ended is, that's something we really want to think about. We want to find a way of measuring success while still having options. And so I think as we go into the future, it may be good to have kind of a framework where they just have to succeed, and maybe we look at a time limit, maybe we don't. So it's not much how they complete it, but it's more that they do complete it at all. And maybe checking time limit or the amount of enjoyment they have within that. So relying more on the IMI than the skills might be a good way to look at that. But that's definitely something we have to think of. Problem with open-ended is that it is much harder to test than a more linear design.
Perfect. Again, Andrew, thank you for this interesting talking. A big applause for you. And now is the turn of Helder Pereira. Can you? Oh, you are here. Okay. Please set up your presentation on the screen, and if you want to put your camera on the left screen. Hi, Helder.
Hi.
Oh, okay, perfect. Helder will present a paper about the antecedent of the adoption of gamification in strategy alignment, an exploration study of middle manager's perspective. Helder.
Hi, everyone.
It's your turn.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Helder, I don't think we don't see your slides. You put up your video at on the same screen.
Oh,
sorry.
Thank you, Ethan.
It's okay now?
Well, we can see your slides now, but we can't see your webcam anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
You just need to click on the left screen and do the same click on the webcam like you did before. Perfect.
Okay.
We're good.
I think it's okay. Thank you for attention. So it's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations for this conference. It has been amazing, and thank you for being here. I'm talking about the antecedents of gamification and adoption of gamification strategic alignment. And as introduction, this paper responds to the call for further research of gamification in management strategy, and explores the use of gamification as a tool of strategy implementation and alignment. We know that lacks empirical research in the context of management, namely in work gamification, lack full understanding of the factors that determine the success or failure of enterprise gamification initiatives, and miss also the understanding of how and when gamification in inter-organizational settings leads to favorable outcomes. We consider in this study the middle manager's perspective, okay, and the role. And the study goal of this study was to understand the middle manager's perspective on the factors that may influence the adoption of gamification as a strategy, implementation, and alignment tool. Now we present some literature review about these main topics. In strategic alignment exists when elements of a business are arranged to best support the fulfillment of long-term purpose. Strategic alignment is also accepted as a prerequisite for a firm's success and is one of the top concerns of executives and managers. So in this case, organizations that want to stay competitive need to engage employees to achieve high organizational performance. And employees must understand the strategy and be committed to it to execute it successfully. Relatively to middle managers, they hold knowledge and power of influence that facilitates the communication along the organization. Middle managers also play the role of intermediaries between top management and employees and influence organizational outcomes. Organizational performance is also influenced by what happens in the middle of organizations, and middle managers believe their self-interest is being compromised. They can delay, reduce the quality of sabotage strategy implementation. So, to sustain, develop, and motivate involvement of middle managers with strategy, organizations should create positive conditions to motivate and engage consistently their employees. Now, concerning with gamification, engaging people in gamification experience requires care and understanding of the player experience, the players themselves, and alignment of intrinsic and extrinsic incentives with business goals. Various studies provide evidence of gamification positive effects, but others not. While gamification brings a set of potential applications in management contexts, the influence of gamification in management is still under research. So it's necessary a better understanding of management and gamification in a holistic way, as well the benefits for management and employees. So our main research questions are: what is the role of middle managers on organizational strategic process, and how may it influence their perceptions on the adoption of gamification? And second, which factors can influence the adoption of gamification from the perspective of middle managers? Our research framework is building on literature, and this study proposes a research framework that integrates the antecedents of the adoption of gamification as a strategic implementation and alignment tool, as referred before. There are organizational related factors, individual related factors, and gamification related factors, namely perceived benefits and perceived risks. So our methodology, this Explore study, adopts a qualitative research approach and a focus group technique. There is 4 focus group sessions and involved 34 middle managers in this study. And the diversity of samples provide, in fact, a rich background context to the study. Now, some results at organizational level, for instance. Participants believe that culture impacts the decision to adopt gamification. This study confirms a variety of organizational structures that may influence the adoption of implementation of gamification. The role that middle managers play impact, in fact, the process of adoption and implementation of gamification tool. For instance, adjusting internal communications, be agents of change, or motivating other players, other employees to participate. But the level of middle managers' autonomy and power also can influence the adoption of gamification. For instance, leadership competence, experience and knowledge, negotiation skills, and support, for instance, of top managers is also relevant. But without enough power, middle managers lack the capability to effectively involve the teams or convince the top management to accept gamification tools. Other constraints block information, aversion to change, disagree and misalignment with management strategy, and demotivation related with middle managers. At individual factors, experience with gaming and knowledge of games do not seem determinant in the decision to adopt gamification tools. 85 participants said that were interested or very interested to adopt gamification, but they don't knowledge of games, but are interested in the adopt gamification. So individual characteristics of middle managers, so skills, motivation, and personalities were also identified as factors that influence gamification in work contexts. Relatively to gamification, this study identified a set of perceived risks that may condition the adoption of gamification. At organizational level, doubts about the advantage and implement of gamification in work contexts, conflict and tensions between employees, lack of top management support, and at individual level, the perceived risks are lack of knowledge and skills in gamification, individual characteristics and personality, and time constraints. But this study also identified a set of perceived benefits that may positively influence the adoption of gamification. Organizational level, we found that knowledge of management strategy, alignment with management and strategy, engagement with organization and with teams, and internal communication are the perceived benefits at organizational level. At individual level, the employee experience is also mentioned. So, as conclusions, this study contributes to extend knowledge on management, strategies, and gamification fields, confirms the importance of the role of middle managers in strategic management, suggests that involving management on decision to adopt gamification tool may improve their motivation and the success of the Gamify experience, and suggests that the adoption of gamification in management contexts may require gamification solutions. This study identifies the 3 factors that I referred before: organizational, individual, and gamification levels, and also offers companies some suggestions on how to design and implement successful Gamify experience. Namely, it suggests that clear support of top managers and the involvement of middle managers in the adoption of gamification may avoid middle managers' resistance and improve their motivation and engagement in the process of adoption and implementation after. To assure an effective contribution of middle managers, it's advisable to evaluate their gamification competence and provide adequate training when it was needed. And due to their pivotal positions that middle managers have, can offer valuable insights to design and communicate the gamification modalities that are the most adequate to participants, reducing identified risks and fostering success. And to finish my presentations, future studies that we recommend. The factors that influence adoption, implementation, and outcomes of gamification. In this case, in a multi-stakeholder perspective, that is a study that we have in course. The role of middle managers as igniters of gamification in work contexts. The impact of distinct models of gamification adopted on the implementation process and outcomes of gamification in work contexts, and to finalize the impact that successful or failed gamify experience can have on role of middle managers and in the organization to further adopt gamification. So many thanks.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you, Elder. Thanks for your presentation. We have a question from Michael Moll. Did you look into the effect of prior organizational or individual experience with introducing gamification? He had also a consideration. He said innovation literature typically suggests that prior experience makes organization more open to experiments as well as more capable of implementing them.
I lose the first.
The first question
Yes.
is: did you look into the effect of prior organizational or individual experience with introducing gamification?
If I understand, the middle managers that participate in this study don't have previous experience in gamification. Okay.
Okay.
So it's important in other studies, in further studies, to understand if can influence this previous knowledge and experience with gamification in organizations. That is the next step that I'm studying in the next article.
Okay, we have a question from Jacques Couvret.
Okay.
As other change, any tips on the scope of the chat move? Any tips on the scope of the gamification? Large, small, not risky, but strategic?
I don't understand the question. You can.
Any tips on the scope of the gamification? The effort scope, large or small effect, risky or not, strategic. This is the question. It is written in this way. I don't know, Jacques, if you want to write some more. Do you target a large topic with gamification?
If I understand, this study is to understand the influence of gamification that can be used in organizations, in work contexts, by thinking in the role of middle managers. What role middle managers can have in the application, in the adoption and implementation of gamification in organizations. Is because the middle managers staying in the middle of the top managers and employees. So it's very important to understand what is the role in this case.
There are other two questions. I think we have time to do them, both of them. From Roland Kremke, which form of gamification are you targeting? Can we expect the results to differ for different form of gamification? Example, different game elements and so on.
Okay, thank you for the question. Is very important. I'm focused my research, my PhD research, and understand what is the effect of gamification in the middle managers, in team managers, for instance, and in work contests. So it's necessary that middle managers have teams to apply gamification in work contests. I don't choose in this moment any field, any target to do it. So it's a good question because can evidence the difference between industries. It's a good point to study. Thank you.
Okay. And from Stephanie Schuller, thank you very much for interesting talk. I like the idea of games and gamification for management. Is there any existing games that you can recommend in this area? Something to learn about new work, leadership, team building?
There is a new world in this moment. I'm very excited to explore these opportunities because leadership is a good topic to explore, and how middle managers can use games from leadership, for instance, and apply in a work context. So is a good point also, and I'm working on that. So thank you for the question.
Okay.
It's a good point.
Thank you, Helder. Big applause for you.
Okay, thank you.
Now it's the turn of Sabina Fodor. Sabina?
Just while Sabina's setting up, for the last question about games on management, there is one of the nominees for the competition. It's called Brave to the Sea. That looked really good. So maybe you can look it up. Normally there's more information on the website and videos also on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone of this game is here this afternoon, but you'll have the information online.
Okay, thank you, Isa. Sabina, can you put your presentation on the main screen?
I'm trying to. I need.
Okay.
Okay, I think this is it. So yeah, I need some time.
No problem.
Uploading my No, that's not mine. Please, someone already did. Okay, here it is. That's mine. I just need to start the first thing.
Okay, Sabina will present a study.
Okay, so I'm spoiler my task. Probably I'm not not the right order. I'm sorry for that one.
The title of
Okay, here it is. And probably I just put myself into the other part. Yeah. Okay. Here we are. And I'm think I'm finished. Okay. Just a little bit. I need to do that one that I can clearly see. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabina. The title of the intervention is Using Gamification to Improve Student Typing Skill, and the stage is yours.
Okay, please. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Sabina Fodor, and today I would like to present the design and implementation and the evaluation of the gamified application, which aims to prove 10 fingers typing skills. So actually, what is 10 fingers typing skills, or other words, touch typing, is a skill of typing without looking at the keyboard. And the question is, why is it so important? Why does it really matter to do that one? First of all, that the development on technology in the last 2 decades have been a constant need for development on people's digital skills. And already from children in elementary school is expected to have some computer skills. And according to the Indeed job portals, computer skills is the 8th most wanted skill that employees look for in candidates. In addition, the highest level of efficiency is expected at each workspace, including speed and accuracy in the word. And if you can use the touch typing, you can type much more faster. And also, the health issue is also important because people spend more and more time in front of the computers. sometimes beyond an 8-hour working time, and improper usage of computers to increase the health problem in people of all ages. And touch typing forces your hands and your body into a proper posture. So I think it is really an important matter. And in Hungary, unfortunately, touch typing is not obligatory to teach in elementary school or in school at in any level. However, many Hungarian students still learning these skills, and these are using, most of them, a program called ABC, which is a program is not considered a gamified solution, as it does not include any game elements or mechanism. It only shows for students the proper finger usage and provides some typing tasks for practicing. So we decided to improve a gamified solution for this task, and we used the gamification model canvas, and we also asked teachers help who has been teaching typing for many years, and we have developed the principles are gamified design based on numerous personal discussion and class visit as well. Focus 3 major challenges or tasks in the design. First of all, the setting challenges. So we try to set the curriculum that to be accurate and multiple levels. So during the learning, we need to keep track of which characters in the text, which is the next character in the text, and you also need to show which finger is used to hit that character as well. And I also mentioned that in Hungary we use, or the students use ABC program, but it is not gamified. So the motivation is also a very important factor, I think. So we set up somehow the scoring system should be designed in a way that it looks more likely a positive feedback. And also we are talking about 10 or 14 years old, so we wanted somehow to awaken the spirit of competition. So we implemented a leaderboard as well. And the third important factor was for us to set up stress-free settings some way. So we use the slogan that mistake is okay and trying again is a good thing. That means that we set up multiple levels for our users or for our students. So actually we think that failure is not only an option, but also it is expected from our students. And I mentioned that we set up a leaderboard. However, we decided to use just a local leaderboard by the nearby player as well. And if you see, you can, in the right side of my screen, you can clearly see a snapshot of our solution. And we implemented a gamified solution which is built around the concept that the player needs to escape from a prison guarded by skeletons, and the skeletons try to make the escape difficult with obstacles and soldiers, and deactivating these obstacles, eliminating the enemies, play the role of the subtasks. And by completing each subtask, the player or the user brings to the protagonist to closer to reaching his goal. And if you can see, there are multiple levels and points, and actually you can see it in we have planned it for our Hungarian students. So Barat means friends. He needs to type in. So what I showed in here, that the player must defeat the soldier by typing correctly the appearing Borat word within a limited time. And another important task for us was to set up, show you the right word, the vocabulary for this program. And so basically we decided we used web-based frequently dictionary that was created by the Center for Research, Media Research and Education. And we filter out the improper words like dirty words, term of reproaches, and we selected approximately 2,000 most commonly used words, and we focused on preserving the distribution of the final letters of the original dictionary. Divided these selected words into 3 different lists as for the different level for our game, that the easy words or short words, for the middle level, the 7 or 8 characters words, and for your upper level for more than 9 character words. And were curious about the solution. So originally we planned that we validate our solution with the help of secondary school students, and our original plan was to use students with different age, different level of typing skills. However, unfortunately, there was an unscheduled closure of all schools on March 2020 due to the coronavirus outbreak in Hungary. So the original plan with this intensive validation not be performed. However, thanks to the secondary teacher generous help, we managed to perform a very limited some testing in a very limited way. Actually, we send the programs and the questionnaire to 50 students, and we ask them to try our program as many times as they can and give their feedback using our questionnaire. And during a 2 weeks test period, 37 students completed these questionnaires, and we consider this great progress actually, particularly since the installation of the program was an extra task for our students. And in our questionnaires, we focused in 3 different parts. First, our first question was that what their expectation for this program. So how happy our users, our students to try this game. And actually you can see the results in the green column. So approximately 30% of our students rated it naturally, no big expectations. 30% of our students was okay, I'm a little bit curious about it, and almost the same amount of students think that, okay, I'm very curious about it, I'm expecting it, and so on and so on. Then the second part of the questionnaires is focused on the experience after the game. So we questioned that how they like this whole process, what they think about it, and you can see the result in the red column. And actually, if you think it, that far more students rated the game positively than the previous question. So after they tried this program, actually our students thought that, okay, that's wonderful, they really like them. And the third question, which is, I think, probably the most important questions regarding Scholar gamified solution, that actually, does it work really? So they improve their typing skills. And if you look at that, you can see it in the B panel, the result, what we receive from our student, that actually 80% of the student thought or felt that they improved their typing skills, and just few of them that no, not really. And we clearly, so putting together, we think that so overall the users feedback shows that our students have improved their typing skill, and they addition to it, they were very happy with their programs, and so on and so on. However, we know that this validation is very limited, and the feedback responses is self-reported. So there was no actual validation of this one. However, I think it is a good start, and actually we are planning to improve and have a real validation of our solution. So hopefully the COVID situation will be normalized soon. And according to the curriculum, typing classes will be on in February. So we are planning to have a more valid validation process to our students to the next semester. However, putting together everything and summarizing my talk. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. So actually, I think we developed developed a gamified application design with the goal of improving the touching typing or 10 fingers typing skills among secondary school students. Evaluated our game with secondary school students, and the students found that this typing practice actually more enjoyable than the original one, or they really like them. And the gamified system, using this gamified system, they improved our skills. And that's all my today, and I'm waiting for your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabina. I have one. Do you plan to measure students' performance adding an internal measure? And if so, could timing analysis be important for your study?
Yes, actually, so our plan, I know that this validation is really limited. So it is, we spent out these questionnaires, and we asked them, and I think it is a big success that almost 70% of our students I responded to these questionnaires. However, I clearly see that it is not a real evaluation. So definitely we are planning to go back to the secondary school, and actually we have a great support from the secondary teacher, so the teachers who teaches typing. So they are trying to use our solution, and then there will be a test based on the original evaluation process. And we have in our mind, we have a control group who won't use this gamified solution, and another group who will use this gamified solution. And we are planning to compare these two groups' results as well. So I'm not sure that I answered your question.
Of course. We have another question from Matthew Gunibert. Is the game available? If yes, has it been translated to English?
So actually, this is one big problem implementing or developing such tool, because actually the usage of the fingers and also the word should be the language what we use, because in Hungary we have special characters we like an A with a hyphen, we named it as A, or with an O with two hyphens, we pronounce it as Ö. So, and according to, so the typing skill is fit for the language what we use. So currently it is just in Hungarian language. Actually, we had some background research, and there are very nice tools for English language these typing skills much more than in Hungarian language or in Hungarian.
Okay.
Currently, the answer is no. Actually, it is
okay.
just in Hungarian.
Okay. Thank you, Sabina, for your presentation. And
thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Could you turn off your camera?
Yes.
And now we will have the last talk of this session and of the morning. Probably it will be the first and the last time I will be able to introduce an author and invite him on the stage with a dance, but I can do here.
Go for it, go for it.
Okay, now it's the turn of Rosalba Spotorno. She will present a paper titled Designing an Online Dungeons and Dragons Experience for Primary School Children. Rosalba, could you put your slides on the main screen? And if you want, and if you can, the camera on the left.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Rosalba Spotorno, and I'm here today to introduce you our work entitled Designing an Online Dungeons and Dragons Experience for Primary School Children. And since I have to introduce me, I share you a picture of me and my students. It's a joke, and I am a little better in real life and a little less witch. However,
sorry, can everyone see the slides? Because I can't.
No. Why?
It's good for me.
It's good for me.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. I was worried. Okay. I am a mathematics and science teacher in a middle school in Palermo. In Italy, middle school is for 3 years, and I teach children between 10 and 14 years old. I've developed my teaching method about 20 years ago in a socially deprived neighborhood in Palermo. To be clear, a Bronx-like school, and it is somewhat anomalous compared as usual. In fact, I've always been a bit nerdy, and this helped me to survive. So I have always tried to use playful and fun methods as emotional hooks. I have also introduced meditation and yoga as a self-knowledge tool to manage anxiety and stress, to create an harmonious and collaborative emotional environment among my students, to help manage young adults' issues and prevent bullying. So I started working for some time with some friends who are also co-author of this presentation, Marco Piccone, who teaches participation techniques at University of Palermo, and Manuel Gentile, who is a researcher in the Institute of Educational Technologies. And as you probably know, all at once in Italy, the schools were shut down in March 2020 because of the pandemics. For us, it was like a bludgeon on the head. After 2 weeks, a friend of mine called me up on the phone and asked me for help because his son was spending most of his time watching stupid videos on YouTube or playing Fortnite, so he didn't read the books anymore. He asked me how to engage his son in a better way. After brainstorming with my friends and co-authors, Manuel No, we decided to come up with a new idea that could solve the issue with distance. We tried to combine pedagogical goals with fun and the mandatory use of technology to address the issues of social network addiction. Even if I don't have the time to examine in detail the various pedagogical contributions, I cannot but mention Piaget. who said that methods used to obtain or create knowledge influence the validity of the resulting knowledge, and also Vygotsky zonal proximal development. Our primary goal was to develop 21st century skills, while at the same time creating a fun environment for the children. Don't see the slide. Oh, I don't see the slide.
It's charging, I think.
However, while I can tell you that to achieve this goal, I capitalized on my experience as school teacher. I employ harmony in education as a playful way to teach, even to develop some of the United Nations 2030 agenda goals. For me, the fundamental question is, how can I understand the problems of my planet, which has no mouth to express them, if I can't even understand the needs of my schoolmates? I don't know why this slide don't work. Okay.
Yes, you're right. There seems to be a problem with the slides.
Okay.
Did you,
okay.
is it a PDF?
Yes.
Maybe there's just too many pictures. No. Okay, I think we can see now. It says based game learning for the 21st century skills.
Can you read? I can't read.
Yes, I can.
Okay, okay. The role-playing games naturally came to mind. You have certainly recognized two famous series, TV series. Oh, no, why? Why? Okay. TV series, Stranger Things and The Big Bang Theory, that help the role-playing games to overcome the bias about RPGs that were seen as dangerous games up to a few years ago. We know that an RPG can be a good or a bad psychological stimulus depending on the game master approach. But I played D&D before it was cool, and I am not gone mad yet. However, a recent article states that we usually think that in a age where most of the social experience take place digitally and through social media, role-playing games remain one of the few experiences that force players to be in the same room and interact with each other face to face. But we could have the children set at the physical table and rolling dice together because of the lockdown. This was the real problem. To understand what playing D&D is like, you could imagine a campfire, a storyteller, and many people listening. Okay, then you should add the possibility that the story is not yet written, and that what listeners say can live and change the story in many ways. This was the brilliant idea that brought Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson to develop Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. And this was the first RPG. This slide shows you many ways to play. For the tabletops, we have every kind of genre beyond the fantasy original setting, as horror, vampire, historic themed, crime stories, superheroes, science fiction, and so on. But there are also many people who dress up in very specific clothes and go outside in nature on ancient historical monuments and cities or castles for live action role playing. But recently, game platforms have been developed. I don't know why. Go on. Okay. To simulate a game on table remotely on your computer. Thanks to them, I have continued to play with my friends, and now they live all over Europe. This is the only solution for our contest, but as far as we knew, nobody used the solution for such young children. And I was afraid it was too risky because this game can stimulate so many feelings and emotions, and I couldn't be there to watch my young players in their eyes. Some groups in Italy use the Skype, but a game platform doesn't allow to see anyone. However, we decided to use the D&D 5th edition starter set, which suggests a minimum age of 12 for the players. And the adventure we chose was The Lost Mine of Andelver, and I decided to change and adapt the game considering the age of players and the distance. The technical instruments we used are the Roll20 platform, that is why we go on, and Discord to communicate. For the detail of the experience, I can say that the group is made of 4 boys and 1 girl, and is obtained joining 2 subgroups of 3 and 2 players. They didn't know each other. Players' age is 9 to 11. I set up some strict rules for parents. At the beginning, it's important that parents sit with the children to be able to check that they are not too afraid, and help them with the English terms and software, that it's not adapt for that age. And we agreed to have 1 game session per week on Sunday afternoon, and the duration of the single game session no more than 2.5 hours. And you have surely guessed that the main difference with the normal game campaign, table game campaign, lies in the different goals and the game master style. In fact, during a normal game session, the game master can do everything, including the fear the total party kill. However, all RPGs invite the players to act as a group in a collaborative and non-competitive way to analyze and solve various situations. But for our group of children, we also wanted to be, we wanted the specific and pedagogical approach for this experience. Point 1, I wanted to avoid and prevent a first-person shooting experience that is typical in video games, and I tried to stimulate the identification with others by creating some problematic situation in which they could reflect on the respect for other people, and even for enemies. Remember this. I tried to promote inclusion through differences in roles. At the beginning, every player wanted to be protagonist at every cost. So I introduced the crime storyline, and I distributed information among individual players to force them to listen each other, to listen the information that each other played had. After 2 game sessions, their habits have changed abruptly, and they started listening before speaking. I provided over-detailed description of geography, history, tradition, and habits of the fantastic place to intrigue them to study after the game session. I massively used synonyms to enrich their vocabulary and their way to share the information with each other. And in the end, I tried to introduce situations in which they should reflect on injustice and on gender differences in order to promote even gender equality. And I have to confess that the results on children have been extraordinary, beyond all my expectations. As you can read in the slide, the young players learned to socialize with other children they didn't know, and to watch what the others do, to listen to what the others know, and to take note and also summarize the previous game session, to think and discuss what the group could do and examine all the alternatives. We spent hours to discuss, not fighting. This was a strange thing to notice. And the differences between them make the group stronger, thus acknowledging the idea of social inclusion, that reading a fantasy book could be an engaging experience and provide other ideas for the game. According to our experience and the feedback received from the parents, we think that most of the goals of the 21st century skills can be achieved through the use of RPGs, even online. The lockdown was a good and unexpected occasion. Test how much an RPG can be a good instrument for a teacher to develop the 21st century skill even at a distance. In the end, this experience, I know, is not a proper game design system yet, but it worked too well and is still in progress. Every Sunday I have to play with my children, and master can go away. The game master applied the most of the pedagogical approach used in her classroom, in my classroom, in a global approach called Education in Harmony, even to a virtual tabletop online game. I know that a protocol should be created and the experience expanded to many groups of children. Finally, we think that RPGs should be used at school to develop the 21st century skills and traditional school subjects, even for inclusion, sustainability, and it in the end to grow resiliences. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I think we're still having some problems with the slides, but you can go see them on the detailed program if you want. There's lots of pictures.
Okay.
There are too many pictures, I think.
Oh. These technical instruments?
No, I think you could end your presentation and go.
Yes, it's time to end.
Yeah, go forward.
Okay.
Alba, could you go to the last slide and conclude your presentation? The last one.
Doesn't work? Okay. Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Rosalba. I have to check if there are some questions on the chat. We can wait.
Actually, I have a question for you while we're waiting.
Thanks.
Could you please tell us a little bit more about the fact that you were pushing collaboration by using roles, different roles? Is this in the game, and is it also? Did you apply this method to the educational goals as well?
Okay. You have to think that Education in Harmony that I use in my classroom stimulate the recognition of one's and others' emotion to work with emotional intelligence and develop empathy and the ability to interact with others in a socially effective and a constructive way, as Goleman told us. And I try to stimulate the continuous reflection on fair play, and I divide the information between them using Discord. So I let them roll a die, and if one of them has a good results, I call him in a separate room and I give him a special information, and he or her can decide if share or not share with other fellow. And these dividing information could help them to reflect and to decide actively if they want to share the information, and generally they want to share, and they can decide to make a big progress. For example, ideas are not like potatoes. If I have a potato and you have a potato, each one has only one potato. But if I have an information or one idea, and you have one information and one idea, and we share, we could deduct other information, we could deduct other things, we could try to solve the problem in many other ways. And the strange thing that these children that usually play Fortnite and used to be aggressive before, now, this is an information that parents give to me, are more quiet and reflectiveness in deducting information, even at home with their parents. This is the thing that was strange for me. How few sessions were necessary to begin to change their way to speak with their parents at home in real life. I don't know if this is enough.
Yeah,
okay.
We
yes.
have some more questions from one from Pratama at Maya. The question is, in your experience, are there good scenarios for RPG session involving kids? He has, I'm not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, and from my limited understanding, most of its scenarios are for teens and older.
And D&D is a game that join in the same table unknowing people from 10 to 90 years old. I know this because I usually frequent most of Italian festival of the game, like Lucca Comics and Games. And I usually play with stranger for me, and it need only 1 minute to speak with other people and to join, and the difference are an enrichment for the groups, and babies and oldest people all together, people of every country, and it's a funny and interesting way to reflect on human mankind and the necessity to be together to solve the problem of our future, because we have only a planet, we have many ideas, we should share and create a new model of living, but this is a political idea. I don't have to tell now.
Thank you, Rosalba. Isa, there is one more question. I don't know if we have time to...
No, you don't.
Okay.
Rosalba, you can look in the public chat and answer the question to the person directly. I'm sorry, we have to stop now. It's
Okay.
12:30 and I'm sure you're all hungry. I did promise you that I would teach you how to fly if we were 100. Unfortunately, we're not 100. We're just underneath. So I don't know what to do. Should I show it to you anyway? Maybe if you stand up and dance.
I think so.
Okay, I guess I can, yes, thank you, Manuel. Okay. Just because of Manuel, thanks to him, I will teach you how to fly. I've prepared the slide anyway, so might as well use it. So this is best if you do this outside, of course. It's taking a while to upload, but I can tell you it right now if you want. So you have to write in the public chat, you write /freelook, FREELOOK, and then you can look, you're like out of your body, and you can use E to fly up and W and your mouse to fly around. Normally my slides will appear with the instructions. So there, have a fly around. This is for a French keyboard, so I hope this works for you. I'll turn the sound on. I'll unmute you and you can tell me if it works. I want to hear wee if it works. Is it working? I can't hear you. They're writing "we" in the public chat. Oh really? Oh, maybe you don't have the permissions. Sorry, maybe it's only the, no, you have to do /freelook. Pramata. Maybe it's only the speakers who can do the freelook. Sorry about that. There's still some things about this world I don't understand. Sorry, Laura. Oh, well, Michael can, and he's not a speaker. Okay, well, have a go at flying around. Just make sure that you will be back at in 1 hour at 1:30 p.m. We have lots of interesting things for you. We have a talk on serious game design with a few talks, and then a paper session with a few talks, and then we have the award ceremony. Then we have the award ceremony and the exhibit. And I'm very proud to announce that we have 42 booths at the exhibit and that they're all set up, which is quite incredible. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Isa.
Bye.
Bye.